Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm a sleep physician. And if you have insomnia, this channel is for you. Today, we have a question from Gabriel who's wondering, when should you worry about your insomnia being caused by something else, meaning an underlying serious health problem? And the short answer is, you don't. Nice having you back here. If you're new to this channel, big welcome to you. Hope you find something helpful to you here. As mentioned, we have a question from Gabriel, and we will get to that in a second. Just as always, nothing here is medical advice to anyone, just general thoughts and general advice that I hope will be helpful to you, Gabriel, and anybody else that is listening in. Gabriel wrote to me here 5 hours ago, writing, my question is, at what point should you worry about your insomnia being caused by something else? And he had mentioned that he had watched my video about fatal familial insomnia. So I think really what was going on in Gabriel's mind here is like, when should I worry about, like, is there something else, some underlying serious health problem that is causing my insomnia? Now, one thing first that I want to point out is that there have been large studies looking at both insomnia as a symptom, meaning if you have trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, and looking at short sleep, meaning like sleeping less than 6 hours. And the first mention, like insomnia as a symptom, meaning if you just like take a bunch of people that feel that they're not sleeping well and then study how that affects their longevity, like how long they will live, does not affect longevity. Like people with insomnia live just as long as people that don't have insomnia. And when it comes to like short sleep, it has not been like shown to cause any health problems. Short sleep, less than 6 hours, is actually less than 6 hours, pretty much no link to health issues. But if you go down to like less than 4.5, less than 4 hours, something like that, and sleeping it's more than 8 hours, those things have been linked to higher risk of dying early, but that has never been shown to be the cause. It's most likely that people that have like health issues, they either sleep less because of that, or they are tired and kind of estimate sleeping more. That's at least my take on that. So that being said, short sleep or insomnia never been shown to cause any health problems. Now, how about flipping that on its side, meaning like, could it be a kind of serious health problem that is causing your insomnia that you should worry about? And a little bit more of a tricky question, but before I answer it, and like in light of what I just said, that I don't think for the most part, you don't need to worry health-wise about having insomnia. Keep in mind that it's in my interest to tell you what most people tell you, that insomnia can cause heart attacks and stroke and cancer and Alzheimer's, because that really gets people's attention. People really start listening, and if you want to try to sell people something, that's the message you want to get out there. So like just keep that in mind, that everything I sell here, I really tell you that because I think that will help you the most, and I believe that is true. So now, that being said, like, what underlying causes could there be for like insomnia that you should really worry about? Well, Gabriel mentioned in his email to me that he was worried about having like these fatal insomnias, and his parents, he said, thought he was like, overreacting. I totally understand why you worry about those things, because insomnia can seem like really bizarre. But here's the thing. Gabriel mentions that he has no family member that died from insomnia. So that makes fatal familial insomnia very unlikely. And his main problem is insomnia, which makes sporadic fatal insomnia very unlikely, because sporadic fatal insomnia, people with that condition don't really have a problem with insomnia. They have neurological problems, like problem with coordination and muscle movements and things like that. And it's really so unfortunate that sporadic fatal insomnia was called an insomnia. It should really have been called like sporadic fatal ataxia or something like that. So those conditions, extremely rare. And like, I want to say like you should never worry about that. You should never say never, they say, but like literally you should almost never worry about that. They're so rare. Now, one thing that is very common though is that people have, I believe, I don't know how old you're, Gabriel, but it sounds to me that you may be young enough that you don't maybe not at high risk of having sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is, more and more common the older we get, and people with sleep apnea typically have like, snore very loudly, may feel like they wake up choking, have a hard time staying asleep, but also feel very sleepy during the day, like have a hard time staying awake. So anybody that has like, really loud snoring, trouble staying awake during the day, you should consider sleep apnea. And now, how serious is sleep apnea? A whole other discussion, where I just briefly want to mention that there's only been like this one big randomized study on sleep apnea, came out in 2016, called the SAVE study, where they took 3,000 people with severe or moderate sleep apnea, and they only treated half of them. So 1,500 on CPAP treatment, 1,500 no treatment, followed them over 4 years, saw no difference in like cardiovascular outcome, no difference in like heart attacks, strokes, and things like that. So it is a little bit uncertain how severe sleep apnea is, but that's the only like potentially, important, a common underlying health issue that we see with insomnia. Most of the time, it is just like, in your case, Gabriel, people have stress, anxiety, worries. That is what's driving the insomnia. So, in clinical practice, when I see people in my clinic that have insomnia, we don't worry about like an underlying serious health problem. It's like it's really the insomnia, the worries and stress and things like that are driving the insomnia, 99.99% of the time. So that was the first question, and I think there were a lot of, another question that I was hoping to answer in this video, and oh yeah, here it is. So Gabriel says, I have tried Zopiclone, and I have not had great success, but that may not be indicative of loss of all hope, as I've been very, very stressed lately. And he's telling me that Zopiclone had like I've heard that it can have diminishing returns. Very true. If you see me looking like that, I'm looking at the time to make sure this doesn't become too long of a video. Medications for insomnia. Yes, I do see some patients that have been on, let's say, trazodone or some other sleep medication for years, and they feel like they're stable, it's working, etc. Now, in that regard, the question becomes, is it really the medication that's helping them, or is it kind of like a placebo effect? And I think I agree with that. Looking to see if I see it here. Yes, here. Say Goodnight to Insomnia, a great book by Greg Jacobs. And he says in this book that any effect of a sleep aid beyond 6 weeks is placebo. And I tend to believe that, meaning knowing what generates sleep, meaning that only wakefulness can like generate a sleep drive that makes you fall asleep, that keeps you asleep. No sleep medication can make you sleepy, can make you sleep. It can relax you. It can relax you, take away some worries, to allow your kind of natural sleep hunger, your natural sleep drive to put you to sleep, but it can't make you sleep. So that's a very important thing to point out. And on those lines, the main kind of concern I have with sleep medications is the implicit message that if somebody prescribes a sleep medication to you, it's kind of like saying you can't sleep on your own, you need the sleep medication. And then you start taking it, and it takes away some anxiety, you feel like you sleep better, but then it kind of stops working. Like you said, diminishing return, like you get used to it, you become tolerant to it, and then you may be like thinking, I don't need this, I don't want to take it. You stop taking it, then it has had this calming effect. Now you take that away, now you become like hyper alert, hyper aroused, now you have like terrible insomnia, and that makes you think, oh my gosh, my insomnia is worse now, I'm totally dependent on this medication, I can't sleep without it. But in fact, you just have what's called rebound insomnia. That's like what I think is a real big concern with sleep medications. So again, sleep medications, extremely rarely a kind of a cure or fix for insomnia. Those people that have had it a long time and seem to do well, I think it's mainly a placebo effect. And at this point, actually, I had a kind of a conversation with Gabriel, and he had some more questions that I also thought were really good. But in the sake of time here, I will wrap up here, and I hope this was helpful to Gabriel, and there's more to come. Tomorrow, I will continue my conversation with Gabriel, more questions, hopefully more good answers. And if you, Gabriel, anybody else has more questions, I'm always super happy to get those emails. So do send me an email at daniel@insomniainsight.co. And hope to have you all back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.